Hello. Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Taranto Long Patrol. And before I actually slim the screen down, I'm going to click on to the next slide because I want you to remember these facts. This is from Jamie's website. That's the Armored Carrier's website. Battleships damaged beyond repair. Conte de Cavour. Battleships damaged but repairable. Littorio and Caedulio. Caedulio will basically re-enter service almost before Italy changes side, and Littorio, well, she's back in service more quickly, but that's because they put a lot of emphasis on getting her back in service, as she's the more powerful unit. Taranto harbour facilities, the seaplane facilities, are severely damaged. Lots of systems taken out. Material, well, there's 1,430 12.5 centimeter rounds. 313 10.7 centimeter rounds, or 6,854 8.8 centimeter rounds, 2,635 20 millimeter rounds, and 931 40 millimeter rounds expended. For every one of the 20 aircraft involved in attack, there are 608 rounds expended and fired into the air. Only 2 aircraft actually end up being lost, and there is a debate as to one of those was actually shot down or whether it was just had a problem, managed to get, how do I put this, managed to misdirect its flying. Overall, the costs in lives were relatively light. 23 men were killed aboard Littorio, 16 in the Conte de Cavour, and 1 aboard Caedulio. So the Italians lost 40. Strategically is big impact. So here's the point. The attack, the damage it causes, not massive. It's not endless. It's one of the interesting things to try and put together an accurate estimate for it because, well, let's put it this way. Almost as soon as the first attack is over, various authorities go into what I would call Operation Cover My Behind. Now, Jamie would tell you that these are the most accurate figures you can get, and I will not critique him on that one. They are. I take them with a pinch of salt, though, because there are some accounts, even from the Italian side, which suggest ships ran out of all their AA ammunition. Now, maybe they're not carrying a full load. Maybe it's only their ready-use ammunition. They can't get any more up and out. There are options. But there is also land-based AA, which is firing a lot. And that also uses up a lot. It's complicated. The point is, the Italians had to expend a lot to try and fight off these aircraft. And then we've got the attack itself. Interesting enough, in this one, the account I gave is John Wellham's account, don't really have an arrow showing his line of attack yet. But I would describe this more as the first wave than the second wave, in terms of a strike. I would also say that I'm fairly sure I know which one his was the torpedo that his torpedo was targeting, and which one he hit. And how he would then end up flying out. Because, well, he talks about the San Pietro being on his left and other things on his right. So I would say he's probably one of the pilots who targeted the Littorio, and I'd be tempted to think he was this side, the offside one, rather than the top ones. Just so you know where John Wellham and Pat probably had hit, because I think they did hit. I don't think they were one on ones who missed, because when you read that account, and you read the various accounts, you get an idea of which ones hit and which ones missed. The Italians are spaced out in a beautiful arrangement, which, if you've listened to the recent Bilge Pumps episode with me and Clarke, episode 72, you'll notice we're basically saying that they are pretty much all bodyguards for Giulio Cesare. They are. That ship is being protected by someone, either Almighty or someone in the local command, but she's protected. But the other five, well, Cavour, Littorio, and Giulio are all fairly exposed. Vittorio Veneto and Doria are also quite exposed in their own ways. This is the principal base of the Italian Navy to cover the Eastern Mediterranean. They have their entire fleet here. And not only does the Royal Navy attack them here, not only does the Royal Navy strike them here, but they get a success. It doesn't matter how many ships the Royal Navy sinks. Sinking any is going to force an impact. I said in the account of the attack and the operation that this operation shows that naval aviation has moved beyond being the psychological torment tool that it was being conceived of as in World War I when they were talking about the Sopwith Cuckoo. It's not goading an enemy fleet into coming to sea. But I've also talked about the fact that in some ways Taranto is both not successful enough and too successful. It's so successful the Italians don't come charging out to fight the Royal Navy, but it's not successful enough to permanently take them off the board. It does do something, though. It does do something quite important. The Regia Marina move to Naples. They move to Naples. Move there because then they've got Sardinia between them and Force H and that evil Ark Royal. And they've got Sicily and most of the foot of Italy between them and the Royal Navy Mediterranean Fleet. They have been forced to abandon their principal base to cover the Eastern Mediterranean. And not only have they been forced to abandon it, they have been forced to abandon it at the same time they found out the Royal Navy have gone into the Straits of Taranto, have gone into the Adriatic, have attacked and destroyed a convoy in the Adriatic. You cannot imagine how humiliating this is for the Regia Marina. It is colossal. And then there's this. Here's the Conte de Cavour. This is what the British have done to the pride of the Italian Navy. And the Cavour was hit by one torpedo. This is what one torpedo did to them. The Italians are distressed. The Conte de Cavour will never be repaired. One torpedo took her out. Yes. Littorio takes 3 hits and manages to survive thanks to some quick thinking damage control. One offside stern, right at the aft, and 2 on the foreside. Again, I have my suspicions about which aircraft did which. The Littorio, one of the prides of the Italian fleet. And she's left sitting like this, with water seeping in all around her systems. One door, if one door hadn't closed properly, if she'd had a slightly bigger hit aft, she would have probably settled down fully. And she might have been, like Conte de Cavour, a write-off. Another torpedo hit. Another 2 torpedo hits. This ship isn't back in service. And the Italians know it. And that's what makes the Italians worried. And that is why they moved to Naples. This is why the Italians moved to Naples. Because Taranto has been shown to not be a safe place anymore. It gets the Italian fleet further away, but they're now still a factor. And in a way, it's successful enough that Cunningham can cry about it, that it can make the cabinet steady back home, but it means the Italian Navy is still going to be a factor for the war, for Crete, for all these operations that come up, which is going to mean they're still going to require battleships. And this is the point where you start to wonder whether Cunningham wasn't right to be worried about whether or not they should perform it or not, carry out this operation. Yes, he had the same fears as Yamato. He had the same worries when launching the attack on Taranto as Japanese had when launching attack on Pearl Harbor. Whereas they managed to commit their full fleet, their full carrier force. He hadn't even been able to do that. Add an Eagle, goodness knows what you would have got done. As I said, there is an Operation Judgment video linked to down below, which has an idea of what would have happened if HMS Eagle had been involved. But you have to remember, Taranto is carried out with HMS Illustrious. If we want a comparison with Pearl Harbor, you would have had to been able to put Illustrious, Ark Royal, Courageous, Glorious, Furious, and Eagle together for a similar firepower British pre-war firepower combination. Hermes and Argus probably would have stayed at home. But you might have brought Hermes. And the British did have plans and exercises where they looked at that idea. But you fight a war, you wage it with what you have available. And that is the true difference between these two operations. Taranto is a wartime operation. It's being fought under the limitations of war. Pearl Harbor is a peacetime operation which is going to start a war. It's being fought on the limitations of peace. The Japanese haven't lost any ships damaged. They haven't had any of those aircraft bombed or strafed. They haven't got to repair them. They haven't got lost pilots killed. They haven't got new, fresh crews they've got to deal with. They haven't had all the new repair personnel. They've got all their peacetime strengths. Which, to me, has always meant that whilst it is arguably not quite as successful proportionally as Pearl Harbor, but is far more successful when you consider the number of aircraft involved. But there again, there's the number of targets. It all lips down. Taranto is the scarier capability. Because this is what you can achieve when you have everything you want available and it's there ready to go. This is what you can achieve when you don't. When what you have on paper is nowhere near what you have in reality. This was achieved by 20 aircraft. Got a loss of 2. Imagine what might have been achieved with a dozen or so more. It could have been what Cunningham wanted. As it was what Cunningham needed. Because, yes, the Italian fleet still comes to sea. Please, anyone who tells you, no, after this, the Italian fleet never comes to sea again, they do. Otherwise, Matapan wouldn't have happened, let alone stuff with Operation White and various other things. But what it does do is it makes the Italian Navy start to question themselves. Fighting the Royal Navy in this period is a scary idea. Fighting the Royal Navy who can come and attack you in your home without seemingly any massive special preparation, without bringing in their strike carrier Ark Royal, without even their full fleet working, and they can do this to you, that worries you. One of the reasons they were able to achieve it was because the number of torpedo nets in Taranto had been cut down as they were impeding the operation of ships, believe it or not. But that's not something to take pride from if you're Italian. That means you made a mistake and the British jumped on it. And they'll do it again. And you know they will. And so you move to Naples. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed a live later on the 11th of November 2021 in a few hours.